A day in the life of a gardener in the royal Persian gardens. Chapter 1 before sunrise. You wake. Slowly. The way a lake wakes at dawn, without a ripple, without a sound. You are lying on a low bed of woven reeds, inside a small stone cottage beside the royal gardens of Persia. The stone walls are cool against the warm night air. Somewhere above you, through a narrow window cut into thick clay brick, a single star is fading into the pale grey of early morning. You breathe in. The air smells of damp earth and something sweeter, tarried faintly on the breeze. Roses, still closed, still dreaming in the... You are a gardener. Tomorrow, no, today, you will walk once more into the great Pairidaeza. The Persians call it that, Pairidaeza, a word that means walled garden, a garden enclosed, a paradise on earth. This is the word that will one day travel far beyond these walls, into other languages, other centuries, becoming, softly, the word paradise itself. But you do not think of centuries. You think only of this quiet moment, this small stone room, this soft bed, and, far off, of water. Listen. Can you hear it? Somewhere beneath the earth, cool water is moving. It flows through qanat, a gently sloping tunnel, carved by hand, generation after generation, carrying water from the mountains many miles away, down, down, through darkness, until it rises here, clean and cold and The qanat does not rush. It does not hurry. It simply flows, the way your breath flows now, in and out, slow and even. You sit up gently on the edge of your bed. Your feet find the cool stone floor. Outside, the sky is turning from black to windy, to a soft, deep blue, the colour of a robe worn by a very old and very patient Perse. You rise. You walk to the small window. There, waiting for your first salm, a bird begins to sing. It is small, hidden somewhere in the dark leaves of a nearby cypress tree, that voice learned, 3 notes rising and falling, rising and fall. This is the bulbul, the Persian nightingale's gentle cousin, a bird the poets will sing about for 1,000 years to come, though you do not know this yet. You only know that its voice, hush before sunrise, sounds like water maidened. Another bird answers, farther. Then another. Soon the whole garden begins to hum softly with birdsong, doves murmuring low in the branches, hoopoe calling somewhere near the orchard, its strange soft crown of feathers still folded flat in sleep, small sparrows rustling awake in the ivy along the garden. You dress, slowly. Your tunic is simple linen, undyed, soft from many washings, the kind worn by all who tend the royal grounds, not the fine dyed wool of the nobles who will walk these paths later in. You tie a woven belt at your waist. You slip your feet into soft leather sandals, and you step outside. The cool of the night is still held close to the ground, a gentle chill that will burn away with the first hour of sun. You stand for a moment, just breathing, in and out. The stars are still visible, faint now, scattered like grains of sand across the fading. You begin to walk. Your cottage sits at the edge of the great garden, near the outer wall, where the gardeners and craftsmen lie. Simple homes of mud brick and stone, clustered close together, each with its own small hearth, each quiet as hour, each holding someone still You walk along the narrow path of packed earth. Your sandals make almost no sound. Ahead of you, the garden wall tall, pale limestone, warmed even now by some memory of yesterday's sun still held within us. You reach the gate. It is a modest gate, not the grand entrance. The king and his court will just a wooden door set into the wall, worn smooth by years of gardeners' hands. You push it open, and there it is. The garden. Even in this dim light, before the sun has fully risen, you can see the shape, the long straight water channel running down the centre, stretching far into the distance, its surface catching the first pale hints of morning light like a ribbon of hammers. This is the asterisk Chahabag asterisk, the four-part garden, divided by 2 crossing water channels into 4 great quarters, each one representing, some say, the 4 rivers of Pairidaeza, water and peace, all woven together in stone. And you walk down the central path beside the channel. The water moves slowly here, wide and shallow, flowing from a raised stone basin at the garden's heart, out toward the orchards and rose beds on either side. You crouch down at the water's edge. You dip your hand in. Cold. Clean. It has travelled so far to reach this place, down from the distant mountains, through the dark qanat tunnels, under the desert, under the plain, patient and until here, in this walled garden, it rises into the light and becomes something beautiful. You cup your hands and drink. The water tastes of stone and minerals and something almost sweet, like snowmelt remembered. You rise again. Above you, the sky has softened fur, indigo giving way to the palest rose, the first true colour of the coming day. The cypress trees along the path stand very still, tall and dark, like quiet sentinels who have watched 1,000 mornings just like this. Cypress asterisks serve asterisks, in the old trees that never lose their green, that stand straight through every season, symbols of strength that does not need to shout to be strong. You pass beneath one now. Its branches release a faint, resinous scent into the cool, sharp and clean, like the smell of the mountains themselves. Further along, you begin to smell something else. Roses. Not yet blooming loudly, not yet opened fully to the sun, but even closed, even hushed, the rose bushes along the path release the faintest breath of fragrance, soft, sweet, a little like honey, a little like something you cannot quite name. These are Damascus roses, roses that have grown in the soil for longer than anyone can remember. The same roses that will one day be gathered by the thousands, their petals distilled slowly, patiently, into rose water and rose oil, treasures more precious, some say, than gold. But that harvest is still weeks away. For now, the roses simply wait, quiet, unopened, and content to hold their fragrance close until the sun coaxes it gently free. You continue walking. Your steps are slow. There is no need to hurry. The garden does not rush, and so you do not rush on. You pass the pomegranate orchard, its branches still dark with shadow, small green fruits just beginning to swell where the spring blossoms fell. You pass a bed of narcissus, pale and star-like in the dim line, the stand of tall irises, their petals folded tight like small purple hands at head, near the garden's central basin. You see movement. Another gardener, old Bardia perhaps, or young Farag, already at work, kneeling beside a bed of herbs, gently pulling away a single weed that dared to grow among the mint. And you do not call out. Not yet. The morning is still too quiet for words, too full of birdsong and what are the rustle of leaves in the very first breath of a... Instead, you simply raise a hand in greeting. The other gardener looks up, nods, smiles, faintly, and returns to their quiet work. This is how mornings begin here. Not with words, with presence. With the shared understanding that you are all, together, tending something larger than yourselves, a garden built to hold paradise on earth, cared for by hands that ask for nothing but the chance to work in such a beautiful... You find your own place to begin, a bed of lavender near the eastern wall, its silver-green leaves beaded with dew, waiting patiently for your gentle attention. You kneel. The earth is cool and slightly damp beneath your knees. You reach out and begin, very slowly, very gently, to work. The sky continues to lighten above you. Soon, the sun will rise fully over the mountains to the east. Old garden will wake into... But for now, in this last quiet hour before the day begins in earnest, there is only this. The sound of water, flowing endlessly through ancient stone channels. The soft calls of birds, greeting the morning one gentle note at a time. The cool earth beneath your hands. The fading scent of roses on the breeze. Your breathing slows, matching, without meaning to, a slow rhythm of the water beside. In and out. The stars above have nearly disappeared now, dissolving quietly into the pale gold of dawn. Your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle sound of water continues its endless song, flowing from the mountains, through the dark earth, into this quiet garden, onward, onward, forever. The fragrance of roses, still closed, still dreaming, drifts softly through the cool morning. You breathe slowly and drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. Chapter 2, Tending the Garden. You wake again, gently, as if the story is beginning once more, like a river returning to its... The sun has risen now. Soft golden light spills across the garden, pooling in long warm stripes between the shadows of the cypress trees. You are still kneeling beside the lavender, though it feels as though only a breath has passed since you began. You rise slowly, brushing the soft earth from your knees. The garden around you has changed with the light. Everything that was grey and hushed in the dark now glows with quiet colour. The deep green of the cypress, the silver green of olive leaves far off near the orchard wall, the pale gold of the packed earth path beneath your feet. You walk on. Above you, the sky has become a wide, soft blue, the kind of blue that seems to hold the whole day gently within it, patient and unhurried. You pass the central water channel again. It moves at the same slow, steady pace as before, untroubled by the rising sun, untroubled by the growing warmth, simply flowing, the way it has always flowed, the way it will always flow, from the mountains to the garden to the fields beyond. Ahead, you see the rose bed. And now, they are waking. Where the buds were closed tight in the pre-dawn cool, they have begun, ever so slowly, to a single petal curling back here, a soft blush of pink revealing itself there, the whole bed slowly exhaling its fragrance into the warmth. You kneel beside the roses. Your task this morning is simple, gentle, unhurried. You reach out and touch a stem, checking for any branch that has grown too eager, too wild, reaching beyond the shape the garden asked. You find one, a long cane arching out over the path, and with a small curved blade, you trim it back, slowly, carefully, The cut releases a fresh burst of green fragrance, sharp and clean, mingling with the sweetness of the open blooms. You gather the trimmed branch gently in your hands and set it woven later into small baskets, or dried for its fragrant. Nothing in this garden is wasted. Every branch, every petal, every fallen leaf finds its purpose, returned to the soil, or gathered for its scent, or simply left to nourish the roots of the very bush that grew. You move down the row. Roses of every shade surround you now, deep crimson, soft blush pink, pale ivory white, though it is the deep pink damask rose that grows most abundant here, the same rose whose petals will soon be gathered by the basketful and carried to the distillers, who will coax from them, drop by patient drop, the most treasured rose water in the empire. You lean close to one bloom and breathe in. The scent is warm and sweet and slightly spiced, like honey mixed with something you cannot quite name. You could stay here all morning, simply breathing. But there is more of the garden waiting for your care. You rise and walk on, past the rose beds, toward the tall cypress trees that line the central avenue. These trees do not need much from you. They are patient, self-sufficient, content simply to stand tall and dark against the sky, their roots drinking slowly from the water that seeps gently through the soil beside the channel. Still, you pause beside one and check the soil at its base, gently pressing the earth with your palm to feel whether it holds enough moisture. It does. The qanat has done its quiet work again, as it always. You continue on, and the path curves gently toward the pomegranate orchard. Here, The trees are lower, more open, their branches spreading wide like welcoming arms. Small green fruits hang among their leaves, still weeks from ripening, still hard and tightly closed, holding their sweetness deep inside, patient as everything else in this garden seems to. You walk between the rows, checking each tree in turn. You find a branch bent low, heavy with new grower, gently prop it with a forked stick of olive wood, giving it support so it need not strain. The pomegranate, Asteriscano arcerit in the old, has long been a treasured fruit here. Ruby seeds a symbol, some say, of abundance, of life itself held 1,000 small jewels within a single You think of autumn, when the fruits will finally split open on the branch, revealing their bright red seeds to the. But that is still far away. For now, there is only this quiet green summer morning and work of Head, near the orchard's edge, you see another old Bardia, his back bent slightly from many years of kneeling in the soil, his hands weathered and brown, moving slowly and surely among the herb. Good morning, you say softly, your voice barely rising above the birdsong around. He looks up, his face creasing into a warm, quiet. Good morning, he answers. The roses are opening early today. Yes, you agree. The warmth came gently this year. He nods, satisfied, returns to his work, gently separating a cluster of mint that has grown too crowded, too eager to spread beyond its. You walk on, past him, toward the herb garden that borders the orchard. Here the air changes again, the sweetness of roses giving way to something sharper, greener, the clean scent of mint, the earthy warmth of thyme, the faint peppery note of basil leaves warming slowly in wine. These herbs serve the royal kitchens and the royal physicians, their leaves gathered fresh each morning, still cool with dew, still full of the night's quiet. You kneel beside a bed of mint and begin gently to pull away a few weeds that have crept in among the roots, a stray blade of grass here, a small thistle, nothing urgent, nothing demanding, just quiet, patient The mint releases its scent as you work, cool and sharp and clean, rising up around you like a soft green cloud. You breathe it in. Your hands move slowly. There is no need to hurry. The garden asks only for presence, for gentle attention, for the kind of care that does not rush, because rushing has no place here. Above you, a small bird lands on a nearby branch, a sparrow perhaps, or a young bulb, and watches you for a moment with bright, curious eyes before flitting away again, back into the green shade of the orchard. You smile faintly and continue your work. The sun climbs a little higher. The shadows of the cypress trees grow shorter, sharper, more defined against the pale gold earth. Somewhere across the garden, you hear the soft murmur of voices, other girls greeting one another, discussing the roses, the fruit trees, the small daily concerns of tending such a vast and beautiful. You do not need to join them. You are content here, kneeling among the mint, your hands moving slowly through the cool soil, the fragrance rising softly around. This is the rhythm of the garden. This is the rhythm of your day. Wake before the sun. Walk the quiet paths. Tend the roses, the cypress, the pomegranates, Greet your fellow gardeners with a nod, a smile, a few soft words, and let the garden's own slow pace settle gently into your bones until you move the way the water moves, the way the breeze moves, unhurried, patient, at peace. You finish with the mint and move to the next bed, tiled wall leaves silvery and fragrant, growing low and dense along the sun-warmed stretch of. You check each plant carefully, gently, your fingers brushing the leaves to release their scent, checking for any sign of wilt or damage. All is well. The thyme is thriving, as it always does in this warm, dry soil, watered just enough by the careful channels that thread beneath the surface, never too much, never too. You sit back on your heels for a moment and simply look around you. The garden stretches out in every direction, rows of roses glowing pink and crimson, tall cypress standing dark and steady against the pale sky, The pomegranate orchard humming softly with unseen insects, the long silver ribbon of the water channel, flowing on, endlessly patient, endlessly cut. Somewhere far off, a dove calls, low and soft notes repeating gently into the war. You close your eyes for just a moment. You breathe in the mingled scent of roses and anything else beneath it, the faint mineral coolness of the water itself, carried on the breeze from the central channel. Your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle sound of water continues its endless song, flowing softly through the ancient stone channels, unhurried, unbroken, carrying its quiet music through every corner of the car. The fragrance of roses and mint drifts softly through the warm morning air, mingling, blending, settling gently over you like a soft breath. You breathe slowly and drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. Chapter 3. Beneath the plane trees. You wake once more, softly, the way a flower opens when no one is watching. The sun has climbed higher still. Its light now filters down through the wide, spreading leaves of an ancient plane tree. The qanat, as it is called here, a tree so vast and old that its lowest branches reach out wider than a house, offering deep, cool shade to all who gather beneath. You find yourself sitting on a low stone bench at the tree's base, its bark pale and mottled, peeling in soft patches to reveal smooth new wood beneath, like the tree is always quietly renewing itself, layer by layer, season by season. Beside you, on another bench, sits an old man. His name is Achaemenid. He's tended this garden longer than anyone living can remember. His hands are folded in his lap, deeply lined, sun-browned, steady despite they, and his eyes, when he turns to look at you, are calm and clear, the colour of a sky just before Come, he says softly, there is work to do here, in the shade, before the sun grows too strong. You nod and rise, following him to a small bed set apart from the others, tucked into the deepest shade the plane tree. Here grow the rarer plants, the medicinal herbs and precious aromatics that require the gentlest, most careful hands. This, Hushing says, kneeling slowly beside a low, grey-green shrub, *sedab*. It has grown in this bed since before I was a boy. We use it sparingly. A little goes a long way, and it must always be handled with respect. You kneel beside him and watch as he gently checks the leaves, turning them softly between his fingers, searching for any sign of trouble. And this, he continues, moving to the next plant, its leaves narrow and silvery, is wormwood, bitter but valued by the physicians. We dry it slowly, in the shade, never in direct sun, or it loses its strength. You listen closely. His voice is low and unhurried, matching the slow rhythm of his hands as he moves from plant to plant. And here, he says, kneeling beside a small patch of what looks like delicate white flowers atop feathery green stems, chamomile, gentle, kind to the stomach, kind to troubled sleep. We gather the flowers just after they open, while the dew is still upon them, and dry them carefully for the royal physicians. You reach out and touch one of the small flowers. It is soft, impossibly soft, like touching a tiny cloud. May I show you something? Hushing asks. You nod. He rises, slowly, using the plane tree's trunk to steady himself, and beckons you to follow him a few steps further to where a small clay vessel sits waiting on a flat stone, along with a handful of freshly gathered. Every gardener should know how to make a simple infusion, he says. It is not difficult. It only requires patience. He gestures for you to sit beside him on the cool stone. You do. He takes a small handful of dried chamomile flowers, golden and fragrant, and visses them gently into the clay. Beside him, a small brass pot of water rests over a bed of quietly glowing coals, not a roaring fire, just enough gentle heat to warm the water without rushing it. He lifts the pot carefully and pours the warm water over the flower. Steam rises, carrying with it a soft, sweet, apple-like fragrance that mingles with the green shade around. Now, Hushing says, settling back against the tree's broad trunk, we wait. You wait together. The steam curls upward, disappearing into the leaves above. Somewhere in the branches, a bird shifts and calls softly, its voice muffled by the thick canopy. The plane tree, Hushing says after a long, comfortable silence, has stood in gardens like this one since long before the kings began building their great cities here. Some say it was here even before the first walls were raised. You look up at the vast branches spreading above you, dappled sunlight scattered across the ground like small golden coins. It gives shade to travellers, Hushing continues, and rest to the weary, and it asks for nothing in return but a little water, carried gently through the earth, and time enough to grow. Here is quiet for a moment, much like a garden itself. He adds softly. You nod slowly, watching the steam continue to rise from the small clay vessel between you. The infusion is ready, Hushing says at last, his voice as gentle as the breeze moving through the leaves. He lifts the vessel and pours a small amount into 2 simple clay cups, handing one to you. You wrap your hands around the warm cup and breathe in the fragrant steam, sweet and soft and calming, like the smell of late summer afternoon. You sip slowly. The warmth spreads gently through you, and the faint honeyed sweetness lingers softly on your... This is what we offer the household in the evenings, Hushing says, when sleep does not come easily. A little chamomile, a little patience, and rest follows naturally, the way water follows the slope of the land. You sit together in comfortable silence, sipping the warm infusion, the plane trees shade cool and deep around you. After a while, Hushing rises again, and you follow him back to the small bed of medicinal herb. There is one more I wish to show you, he says, kneeling beside a low, spreading plant with small, delicate purple flowers. Lavender. It calms the mind as gently as it calms the skin. We gather the flowering stems, tie them in small bundles, and hang them to dry in the shade, just as we do with the wormwood. You reach out and gently brush your fingers across the lavender's soft purple blooms. The fragrance rises immediately, clean, floral, faintly sweet, with something deeper beneath it, something calming, something smell. Hushing says softly, truly smell it, not quickly, the way one might smell a meal in passing, but slowly, the way one listens to a story worth remembering. You close your eyes and breathe in deeply. The lavender scent fills you, soft and cool and endlessly soothing, like the shade of the plane tree made into fragrance. Very good, Hushing murmurs. You can hear the quiet smile in his... You open your eyes. The dappled sunlight continues to shift gently across the ground as the plane tree's leaves stir in a soft, unhurried There is a saying, Hushing says, settling back once more against the tree's broad trunk, among the gardeners who came before me. They say the garden does not belong to us. We simply belong to it for a little while. And it teaches us patience, if we are willing to learn. You sit quietly with this thought, the warm cup still cradled in your hands, the last of the chamomile infusion cooling slowly beside. Rest a moment longer, Hushing says gently. The garden is in no hurry, and neither, today, are we. You lean back against the ancient trunk beside him. Above you, the vast canopy of the plane tree stirs softly, its broad leaves catching and releasing the golden light in slow, shifting The scent of lavender and chamomile lingers softly in the warm, shaded air around you. Somewhere beyond the reach of the branches, you can still hear the faint, endless murmur of the water channel, flowing on, patient and unbroken. Your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle sound of water continues its endless song, drifting softly beneath the deep shade of the ancient plane tree, unhurried, The fragrance of lavender and warm chamomile drifts softly around you, calming, soothing, settling gently over your thoughts like a soft woven blanket. You breathe slowly and drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. Chapter 4. A meal beside the fountain. You wake again, gently, to the soft, musical sound of falling water. The sun has climbed to its highest point now, though here the heat never feels, tempered always by shamed moving water and deep green of so many growing. You find yourself sitting on the smooth marble rim of a great fountain, near the heart of it, where the two central water channels. The fountain rises in gentle tiers, pale marble carved smoothed by generations of careful hands, water spilling softly from one basin to the next, catching the midday sun in bright, scattered flashes, like scattered handfuls of... Beside you rests a simple woven cloth, spread with your midday meal. Fresh bread, still faintly warm, its crust golden and fragrant. A small handful of dried figs, dark and sweet. Soft dates, sticky with their own rich sweetness. A wedge of pale, crumbling cheese. A scattering of walnuts, their shells already cracked open, revealing the pale, wrinkled meat. And beside it all, a simple clay cup, filled with cool water drawn fresh from the gardens. You reach for the bread first, tearing off a small piece each. It tastes simple and good, the way food tastes when the body has been working gently all morning, and the mind is calm, and there is nowhere else you need. The fountain murmurs softly beside you, water spilling endlessly from tier to tier, filling the warm air with its constant gentle music. You reach for a fig next, and bite into its soft sweetness. Above you, a flash of orange and black catches your eye, a butterfly, drifting lazily on the warm air, weaving between the rose blooms that grow near the fountains. You watch it for a while as it settles, wings slowly opening and closing, on a deep pink bloom just a few steps. It rests there, drinking whatever sweetness the flower offers, entirely unhurried, entirely it. You eat a date next, its sweetness rich and deep, follow it with a walnut, its slightly bitter, earthy flavour a gentle contrast to all the sweetness before. A bird lands nearby, a small, quick sombre, its feathers a soft warm brown, it hops closer along the marble rim, watching you with bright, curious. You break off a small crumb of bread and set it gently on the stone beside you. The bird hesitates for a moment, then hops forward, quick and light, and takes the crumb before darting away again, back into the shade of a nearby row. You smile and reach for your cup of water. It is cool, startlingly cool, drawn fresh from the underground spring only a short while ago, still carrying some memory of the deep, dark earth it travelled. You drink slowly, savouring the coolness against the warmth of the midday. The fountain continues its soft music beside you, water rising in a gentle plume at its centre, spilling over into the first basin, then the second, then finally into the long channel that carries it onward through the rest of the... This fountain, like the qanats that feed it, are full of quiet engine, built by hands, that understood water not as something to be forced or hurry, as something to be guided, gently, along the paths it naturally wishes to... The Achaemenid engineers who designed these gardens understood this well. They built their channels with careful, gentle slopes, just steep enough to keep the water moving, never so steep that it would rush or spill in. The result is this, a garden where water is never scarce and never violent, always present, always calm, always singing its same soft. You finish the cheese, its texture soft and slightly tangy, and lean back against the cool marble edge of the fountain, letting the midday sun warm your face for just a moment before you shift into the shade of a nearby rose arbour. Around you, the garden hums with quiet midday life. Bees move slowly between the open rose blooms, their wings catching the light in small golden flick. Dragonflies hover above the water channel, their wings shimmering blue and green, occasionally dipping low to skim the surface before rising again. Somewhere in the branches above, a dove murmurs its low, soft call, 3 notes repeating gently, again and again, like a lullaby it is always. You watch the water for a long while. Sunlight dances across its rippling surface, breaking into 1,000 small points of light, scattering and reforming with each gentle disturb. A single rose petal, loosened by the breeze, drifts down and lands softly on the water's surface, spinning slowly as it is carried along by the current, out toward the far edge of the fountain's bay. You watch it go. It moves at exactly the pace the water wishes it to move, no faster, no slower, simply carried, simply held, simply allowed to drift. You think, perhaps, that this is not that different from your own. You have been carried gently through it, from one quiet task to the next, never rushed, never hurried, simply allowed to move at the pace the garden itself can. You reach for the last few walnuts and eat them slowly, watching the butterflies continue their unhurried dance among the The midday sun is warm, but here in the shade of the earth, with the fountain's cool spray drifting occasionally on the breeze, warmth feels gentle rather than a soft blanket rather than a burden. You finish your meal and fold the woven cloth carefully, setting it aside. For a little while longer, you simply sit. There is no need to rush back to your work. The garden, through these ancient trees, will all still be there, patient as ever, when you are ready to return. For now, there is only the soft murmur of falling water, the gentle drift of butterflies among the blooms, the gold coin flashes of sunlight scattered endlessly across the fountain's rippling surface. Somewhere far ahead, the faint sound of other gunners' voices, learn unheard, sharing their own midday meals in other quiet corners of the vast. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sound of the fountain wash gently over you. The water rises, falls, rises, falls, a rhythm as steady and endless as your own slow breathing. A light breeze moves through the rose arbor above you, carrying with it the mingled scent of roses and warm stone, and cool mineral freshness of the fountains. Your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle sound of water continues its endless song, rising and falling from tier to tier, filling the warm midday air with its soft, unbroken music. The fragrance of roses drifts softly around you, mingling with the sweetness of figs and dates still lingering gently on your breath. You breathe slowly and drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. Chapter 5: A Sunset in the Garden. You wake one final time, softly, as the light around you begins, very gently, to change. The sun has begun its slow descent toward the western mountain. The harsh brightness of midday has softened into something warmer, something golden, something deeply, quietly beautiful. You rise from where you have been resting and begin to walk once more along the garden's central path, the long water channel beside you catching the low evening light and turning it into a ribbon of shimmering amber. The shadows of the cypress trees stretch long and soft across the packed earth path, reaching toward the east as if pointing gently toward the night that is slowly gathering there. You breathe in deeply. The air has begun to cool, just slightly, the fierce warmth of the afternoon giving way to something gentler, something that carried on its soft current mingled fragrances of the entire garden, waking into roses. Fully open now after their long day in the sun, release their sweetest fragrance in these final hours before rich, warm, and deep, filling the air around you like a soft golden. You pass a gardener lighting the first small oil lamps of the evening, simple clay vessels set on low stone pedestals along the main paths, their flames small and steady, waiting patiently for the coming. Good evening, gardener says softly as you. Good evening, you answer, your voice as low and gentle as the light around. You walk on. Ahead, near the orchard, you catch the first hint of another fragrance, something sweeter, more delicate than the road, jasmine, its small white star-shaped flowers just beginning to open as the light fades, releasing their fragrance most generously after the sun has. You pause beside the jasmine vines, which climb gently along the low trellis at the orchard's edge, breathe in their soft, sweet purr. It is a scent that seems made for evening, delicate, coming, and faintly reminiscent of honey, drifting on the cooling air like a whispered You continue your walk. The sky above has begun to soften into shades of rose and amber and the deepest, gentlest violet, the same colours perhaps, that first greeted you in reverse this morning, before the sun had fully. The day has come full circle. You pass the central fountain again, where you rested at midday, and pause for a moment to watch the water catch the last golden light of the setting sun, each falling drop turning briefly to liquid fire before settling into the basin. A soft breeze moves through the garden, stirring the cypress branches into a gentle, whispering, a sound like the trees themselves murmuring some old, patient secret to one another. passed down through root and branch for longer than anyone can remember. You listen. The rustle rises and falls, matching the same slow rhythm as the water beside you, as your own breath, as the whole quiet garden settling gently into Somewhere in the deepening shadows beneath the plane trees, a new sound big, low and clear and achingly sweet. A nightingale. Its song rises, through the cooling air, a long, trembling note followed by a quick cascade of trills, then silence, then another long, sweet note, as if the bird is composing its melody fresh with each breath, never quite the same twice. You stand still and listen. This is the sound the poets will write about for centuries to come, the nightingale, the rose, bound together forever in Persian song and story, one singing endlessly of its love for the... You do not know these future poems, but you understand, standing here in the fading light, surrounded by the mingled scent of roses and jasmine, listening to that clear, trembling voice rising through the darkening branches, exactly why such stories will be told. You walk on, slower now, savouring these final quiet moments of the oil lamps along the paths have all been lit now, their small flames glowing warm and steady in the deepening blue of early evening, casting soft pools of golden light onto the pale stone. You pass beneath an archway woven thick with climbing roses, their blooms pale in the dim light, their fragrance rich and heavy in the still evening. Beyond the archway, the garden opens into its final quarter, where the tallest cypress trees stand in a long, straight row, their dark shapes now silhouetted against a sky that has deepened into the softest indigo. The first stars have begun to appear. Small and faint and scattered, they emerge one by one across the darkening sky, the way they always have, the way they always will, patient witnesses to 10,000 evenings just like this. You walk slowly beneath the cypress trees, their branches whispering softly above you, and you feel the last warmth of the day's sun still held gently in the stone path beneath your feet. Ahead, you can see the outer garden wall, beyond it, the small stone cottage where your day began so many quiet hours. You were nearly home. But you do not hurry. This final hour deserves to be walked slowly, save as the last sweet bite of a shed. You pause once more beside the central water channel, now dark and silver beneath the emerging stars, still flowing, still singing its same soft, endless song, exactly as it has flowed since before you woke this morning, exactly as it will continue to flow long after you have gone to sleep tonight. The nightingale's song drifts once more through the cooling air, distant now, softer, a final gentle offering before the deep quiet of night settles fully over the... You breathe in one last time, rosy jasmine, and cool stones, more freshness of flowing water, all mingled together into the single, perfect fragrance of this garden. You continue toward the gate. Above you, the stars continue to multiply, scattering slowly across the deepening sky, countless and patient and utterly silent. You reach the small wooden gate and push it open, stepping through into the quiet cluster of gardeners' cottages beyond. Your own small stone home waits for you, dark and cool, exactly as you left it this morning. You step inside. The sounds of the garden follow you softly through the open window, the faint, distant murmur of water, the last few notes of the nightingale's song, the gentle whisper of cypress branches stirring in the night breeze. You lie down on your low bed of woven reeds. The stone walls hold the day's warmth close around you, soft and gentle, like a hand resting lightly on your shawl. Above you, through the narrow window, you can see a handful of stars, bright and steady, watching over the garden. Your eyelids grow heavy. The gentle sound of water continues its endless song, flowing softly through ancient stone channels, unhurried, unbroken, carrying its quiet music through the darkness, on and on. The fragrance of roses and jasmine drifts softly through the cool night air, settling gently over you like the softest woven blanket. Somewhere, far off, a nightingale sings one last, trembling note into the deep and patient. You breathe slowly and drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. *The end. *.